Lethal Tempo ADCs are dominating the meta right now, so what do you guys think about the rune making a comeback? Do you enjoy Lethal Tempo being available again, or would you rather it be gone from the game for good? Let us know down in the comments below. And did you know mastering your champion will boost your win rate by a massive 9% on average? That's why at SkillCapped we offer Smurf commentaries. Simply select the champion you want to master and get guides from challenger experts teaching you how to play your champion in the exact rank you're stuck in. You're even guaranteed to have all your questions answered by that very same challenger expert. After that, take one of our 5 brand new courses that teach you the secrets to carrying as a top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. It doesn't stop there. We have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, setting, and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, the list goes on. The best part, you can try all this out completely risk-free. Since if you don't rank up while actively using SkillCapped, you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below right now to get the rank you've always dreamed of. We've seen a shift in the top lane meta over the past patch, with tanks finding more success than fighters. One in specific who's seen a huge spike in power and our first solo carry top for 14.20 is Shen. Shen, being one of the better answers to a lot of highly picked fighters in solo queue, has him in a great spot right now. Fighters lost a lot of relative strength from the 14.19 item changes, while tanks did not lose nearly as much, which has made Shen an even better pickup to play into them. The changes to shield bash were also amazing for Shen, as the rune is giving him a lot more damage now. AP bruisers are really the only class of top lane champs in meta that you have to worry about when picking Shen, so banning out Gwen or Mordekaiser is a good idea. With how the bot lane meta is aligned over the past patch, playing Shen has even more value. Being able to keep those lethal tempo ADCs alive in mid to late game fights will significantly amplify your ability to win team fights. We're even seeing Heartsteel priority really shoot up on Shen as a rush item, and it's got an incredibly high win rate on him right now. Sunfire or Hollow Radiance are generally the best second pickups for Shen, and then your third pickup can either be Thornmail or Kaenic Rookern. For Shen's rune page is Grasp with Shield Bash, Second Wind, and Overgrowth, followed by Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter. One of the best carry tops that you can play for 14.20 who didn't end up getting hit very hard at all by the 14.19 item changes is Nasus. In our 14.19 updated tier list, we noted how a champ like Garen ended up losing over 1200 gold worth of stats from his core items, while someone like Nasus only lost just under 700. Tank items didn't lose nearly as much power as fighter items, so even though Nasus does build Trinity Force, after that it's just all tanks, so he's been faring way better than most bruisers for solo queue. With less damage on many fighter items, Nasus is just stronger now in the mid game compared to many other champs, which is where he can really take over games. With how powerful Shen is right now, that is one meta matchup that you may want to consider banning when picking Nasus. Other than Shen, there really aren't any meta champs that are destroying Nasus right now. Standard core build consists of a Trinity Force Rush, while Frozen Heart and Spirit Visage are interchangeable as second and third pickups. Rune page will be Fleet Footwork with Triumph, Haste, and Last Stand, followed by Second Wind and Unflinching. And for our third top lane solo carry of the patch, she's gotten much stronger with how the item changes have played out, as we have Gwen. Gwen is one of those champs who can deal a ton of consistent DPS, so with fights lasting a little longer now and with less burst in the game, it benefits her quite a bit. Gwen can also play very well into tanks, and we have been seeing a spike in tank play rate due to the 14.19 changes. One of Gwen's best analytical matchups right now is against Mundo, as she's been winning over 55% of the time in that lane. Riven has always been a one matchup that can be more difficult to play into as Gwen, so especially with Riven getting buffed for this patch, she's a good ban choice. The build that you should be prioritizing on Gwen consists of a Riftmaker Rush into Nashor's Tooth second and then Rabadon's third. Conqueror is the Keystone Rune with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Last Stand, followed by Second Wind and Overgrowth for secondaries. We're seeing a lot of changes in 14.20 that will impact the jungle meta, but one champ who should remain a top tier pick is Jarvan. Liandry's junglers are getting nerfed, and then Udyr, Skarner, and Shyvana are being directly nerfed, which should give Jarvan even more priority. Jarvan had already been one of the top tier picks in 14.19, so he should be gaining more indirect strength moving forward. To take advantage of Jarvan's strength in meta and speedrun being able to play him optimally, our Master in Minutes course on our website can really help you out. Jhin and Jinx being meta for ADC right now allows for Jarvan to slot in extremely well, as his lockdown is just way more guaranteed when playing into comps that lack mobility. The only meta matchup that Jarvan is having a more difficult time against right now is Viego, and with Viego being the most played jungler in meta, he's definitely a good ban choice. Your build on Jarvan will consist of an Eclipse Rush into Sundered Sky second and Frozen Heart or Spirit Visage third. For the rune page, you should be taking Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Cutdown, followed by Free Boots and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. For a champ like Viego with so much sustain and extended fight power, the 14.19 item changes have paved the way for him to be the highest priority jungler. It's not very often that you see a jungler in solo queue become more popular than Lee Sin, but Viego has overtaken him as of recent. Viego is a champ who loves extended skirmishes where he can utilize his consistent damage and passive to their fullest potential, so damage dropping in 14.19 has been great for him. So when it comes down to a pure carry out of the jungle right now, Viego is one of the best champs you can side with. Champs that can disrupt Viego's ability to maneuver around in teamfights are who you want to try and avoid, so with Lulu being a top tier support again, she's a good ban. There are many different viable builds for Viego right now, but one that you really can't go wrong with consists of a Trinity Force Rush into Sundered Sky 2nd and Sterix Gauge 3rd. The best rune page revolves around Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, while Free Boots and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. And to round out the jungle top 3 for 14.20, we've got Volibear. In recent patches, Volley has been right in behind the Liandry's junglers in terms of strength, so now that they're nerfed for 14.20, it will provide Volley that added boost in power. Liandry's junglers like Udyr and Lilia are actually the only two meta champs Volley has had a negative win rate against in recent patches, so 14.20 should be really good for him. Champions who have the ability to provide strong skirmish strength are generally the best in meta right now, and with Volley's low cooldown on W and ramping effects from his passive, he can really thrive well the longer fights last. Core build is just so strong for solo queue as well because it's quite cheap, which allows for Volley to hit his mid-game spike faster than most champs, and you have a really good mix of both damage and durability. This core build we're talking about consists of a Rod of Ages Rush into Flicker Blade 2nd and Spirit Visage 3rd. Ban-wise, when playing Volibear, you really can't go wrong with getting rid of a strong disruptor who's going to make engaging fights more difficult, so Lulu is a great option right now. Rune page for Volibear consists of Press the Attack with Triumph, Haste, and Last Stand, while Celerity and Water Walking are for secondaries. Mages have seen a really nice spike in relative strength due to the 14.19 item changes, and making his first appearance on the solo carry top 3 for this season is Hui. Less damage in the game is really nice for mages because they're not dying as quickly and being punished as hard for being more squishy characters. With Hui being such a great pick right now, it's perfect timing that one of our newest Master in Minutes courses on our website is actually dedicated to Hui, so it can really help you out if you're looking to pick him up. In 14.20, Riot's actually nerfing Ludens and Storm Surge, which will reduce the strength of a bunch of mages, but Hui does not build either of those, so his priority should rise even more. Champs with longer range catch power are who Hui is going to struggle more against due to lacking a gap closer, so using your ban on someone like Syndra or Lux is good value. The core build for Hui revolves around a Blackfire Torch Rush into Liandry 2nd and Shadow Flame 3rd. Ahri has been seeing more play as of recent in place of Comet on Hui in solo queue, and it's actually finding better success as well. Comet and Ahri are both viable options, but Ahri is just proving to be a little more consistent. One melee mid who's really been liking the recent item changes and our second solo carry for the patch is Sylas. Sylas is a champ who loves his more extended fights where he can take full advantage of his sustain from W, so with less damage in the game and fights lasting a bit longer, it directly benefits Sylas. Level 9 when you have W fully maxed out is where Sylas can become extremely deadly, because W drops to a 6-second base cooldown, which will be even lower when you factor in ability haste. Just being able to survive that tiny bit longer in a fight to where your W cooldown comes back up can be a game changer, so less damage on average in the game is great for Sylas. There's a lot of options when it comes down to the build for Sylas, as you can go with the more bursty Lichbane into Shadow Flame or opt for the Rocket Belt Rush to provide some more durability. Hector even played the Storm Surge Rush in his commentary for Sylas. However, with Storm Surge nerfed for 14.20, we'll have to see if it still ends up being viable. Ban-wise for Sylas, Vex is always one of the best options, as her passive Fear makes it quite difficult for Sylas to engage as freely as he would like. Electrocute is going to be the best keystone rune if you're playing either of the more bursty Sylas builds. However, if you're opting for Rocket Belt with Cosmic Drive, then going for Conqueror does have good value too. And to round out the mid lane solo carries for 14.20, we have Vex. Vex had already been one of the better solo queue mids prior to the 14.19 item changes, and since then her win rate has increased even more. Vex is one champ who's been able to take full advantage of how powerful Storm Surge has been as of late, so with the item nerfed for 14.20, she'll get a bit weaker, but we don't think it will affect her that much. Vex is just so great for solo queue right now because she hard counters highly contested melee mids like Yone, Yasuo, Sylas, and Akali. As long as you're playing around W cooldown, then it's very easy to win lane with Vex in those matchups. Vex is more of a mid-range pick, so champions that are longer ranged who can threaten Vex from afar are who you will want to ban out, and either Orianna or Syndra are two valid choices for the current meta. For the build on Vex, it's a Luden's Rush into Storm Surge 2nd and then Shadow Flame or Zanya's 3rd. Look to run Electrocute for the Keystone rune with Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, and Ultimate Hunter, while Mana Flow and Transcendence are for secondaries. There's currently one ADC who's just a cut above all else for solo queue right now, and that champ is Kog'Maw. Kog not only got stronger last patch with teamfights lasting longer due to less damage being in the game, but the return of Lethal Tempo has propelled him to a whole nother level. Get Lethal Tempo Kog on 2 items with an enchanter by his side, and the mid to late game impact is absolutely incredible right now. What's so great about the support meta is that we are actually seeing heavy priority being put on an enchanter like Lulu, and that synergy is one of the best for Kog. Lulu actually has the highest play rate for any support in the entire game right now, so it's just all the more more reason to be able to pull out the Kog'Maw pick for 14.20. One champ you'll want to consider banning right now when picking Kog is Jarvan, as his long-range engage and lockdown is very difficult to position around as a less mobile ADC like Kog'Maw. The standard core build for Kog'Maw consists of a Blade of the Ruined King Rush into Rage Blade 2nd and Hurricane 3rd. Your rune page should revolve around lethal tempo, with Triumph, Bloodline, and Last Stand, while Conditioning and Overgrowth are for secondaries. For our second solo carry ADC of the patch, it's going to be another who's really loving the re-addition of lethal tempo, and that champ is Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa is being hit with a small nerf this patch due to Static Shiv losing 5% attack speed, but we really can't see that being enough to remove her from a top tier spot in meta. What's actually really nice right now for Kai'Sa is that lethal tempo and press the attack have identical win rates for solo queue. There's not a clear winner right now, which means you can adapt your rune setup quite well based on the matchup that you're in. PTA is still going to be nice value if you're with a melee engage support, to where that added burst can help a lot with all-in power. Since melee supports generally have some pretty good follow-up damage themselves, you won't need as much of an extended fight to take down the target you're focusing, which does give press the attack more value than lethal tempo. Leona, for example, can easily chunk 40% of a squishy's health bar with her full combo, so lethal tempo is not as optimal there, since you won't even be able to stack it up to where it's giving good value. Now, vice versa though, if you're with an enchanter like Soraka or Lulu, they don't really provide reliable damage themselves, so you're going to need more of an extended fight a lot of the time to kill your targets, and therefore going for lethal tempo with enchanters is generally the better play. If you're interested in learning more about how to actually play Kai'Sa, our new Master in Minutes course on our website can really help you out. Hector also has a new full game commentary for Kai'Sa, playing her with lethal tempo, which is a great resource for you as well. The core build that you should be looking to run on Kai'Sa consists of a Static Shiv Rush into Rage Blade 2nd and Nashor's Tooth 3rd. Ashe is one of the better bans if you intend on picking Kai'Sa right now, as it can be more difficult to survive lane against Ashe just due to her longer range bully power. Speaking of Ashe, that is exactly who we're going to be rounding out the top 3 for ADC with this patch. Not really a surprise here that all the ADCs in the top 3 for 14.20 are ones that can abuse lethal tempo. Lethal tempo ADCs are just on top at the moment, as being able to pull them out in games where your support locks an enchanter has a lot of value right now. If you want to play an ADC with a little more agency over how the early game plays out, then Ashe is definitely the best out of the top 3 for this patch. Auto range with Ashe is quite long, and then on top of that, you have poke from W, which allows you to outtrade a majority of ADCs early on in lane. Ban prio when picking Ashe should be quite similar to what we mentioned for Kog'Maw, as getting rid of a heavy engaged champ in meta like Jarvan is always a good play. Here's what the core build should be looking like on Ashe, as you rush Kraken Slayer, grab Phantom Dancer 2nd, and then Bloodthirster 3rd. Keystone Rune is of course lethal tempo, followed by Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cutdown, while Biscuits and Approach Velocity are for secondaries. We've got a bit of a new look to the support top 3 for this patch, as Poppy getting nerfed opens things up for Rel to challenge as one of the best melee supports. If you guys watched our updated tier list or OP builds video from 14.19, then you'd already know that a factor in Rel gaining strength as of recent was due to Trailblazer getting buffed in 14.19. Trailblazer was the only item in the game that was actually just straight up buffed last patch, and it's a very strong rush item for Rel. A lot of players are still sleeping on it though, as the majority of Rel players are running the nerfed Zeeks, so if you have yet to try out the Trailblazer rush, then definitely give it a go. This is also what makes Trailblazer even better, because not only was it buffed, but Zeeks and Locket were nerfed, so the relative power of Trailblazer went up by a ton. Celestial Opposition works great for the item upgrade on Rel, and then after going for Trailblazer, you can opt for Locket or Zeeks depending on what you feel is best for the game. Even though Poppy is getting nerfed for this patch, it is still a pretty good ban for Rel, as Poppy does a good job at limiting Rel's engaged strength. For Rel's rune page, you should be taking Aftershock with Shield Bash, Bone Plating, and Overgrowth, while Hex Flash and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. Continuing to dominate the support meta ever since her mini rework from a few patches back is Senna. Senna is just such a great carry support for solo queue because she can impact games through her utility and damage. Even though enchanter builds are the most popular on Senna, you can play Black Cleaver with Phantom Dancer if you want more raw carry strength. Matchup wise for Senna, you're going to want to avoid playing into supports with long range catch power, so banning out Pyke is always a good idea. If you're playing with a lethal tempo ADC, then going for the enchanter build of Echoes of Helia and Moonstone is going to be good value right now. Black Cleaver Rush is still really good though if you feel like the added durability will be of good use against a heavy dive comp, if the enemy team is very tanky, or if you feel like you can't rely on your ADC and just want more damage yourself. With Grasp nerfed for this patch, it's likely that even if you're playing the Black Cleaver build, Aerie will now just be the more consistent keystone option to run. And lastly, to round out the video, the third solo carry support for 14.20 is going to be Lulu. Lulu is just really strong right now for solo queue because of all the lethal tempo ADCs being played in meta. If you're playing Lulu with Jinx, Kog'Maw, or Kai'Sa and you can get past the early game and reach 2 items on your ADC, then your mid to late game teamfight strength will be incredibly valuable. The protective strength that Lulu provides allows for her ADC to survive a lot longer in fights, and since lethal tempo has ramping effects, it just gives Lulu a lot of power when paired up with them. A good ban right now if you intend on picking Lulu is Senna, as it is a more difficult matchup to get past early on due to Senna's sustain and longer range poke power. The build you should be taking on Lulu consists of an Ardent Sensor Rush into Shirelia's second, while Dream Maker is the item upgrade. For the rune page, pick up Airy with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, followed by Bone Plating and Revitalize for secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So there you have it everyone, a complete look at 3 of the best solo carry champs for every role as we head into patch 14.20. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you back soon.